I'm Seamless, and this is part 2 of today's How to Bass. Also, still brought to you by John Ian, who still donated to my Patreon campaign, which, if you're curious as to what that is, link in the description, there is, that you can read. It was almost Yoda, but that wasn't on purpose. Unintentionally is what I was about to say just then. I'm awesome right now. Anyway, this is part 2, which is about all the theory and like behind the scenes reasons as to why this sound is not necessarily how the sound is, which is what part 1 was about. So, the primary thing that happens, that sort of squelchy thing that goes around in the beginning, is the result of a particular kind of thing you can do with Harmor when you set the phaser to harmonic and set the width to 0. Basically, what happens here is that the shape of the phaser and the way that it behaves is dependent on the unison setting, which is why I have this unison shape going on in the unison pitch, harmonic unison pitch window, which changes how much unison pitch width is being applied to what harmonic in Harmor, which is what the shape is. So it's only being applied to the high frequencies. And you can even see that's really only being applied to the high frequencies. And even the sort of peak business going on in the middle here is indicative of this original shape. But you also notice that I am automating the unison to be off. And this does two things. One, it moves the unison, which is causing this shape change to happen. But also when it happens, the sound remains consistent. So you can hold it and it'll repeat and it'll be solid. Nice solid sound. And I like that, sometimes. So that's why I did that. But watch what happens when I turn it off and I manually move around the unison. And even weirder, watch what happens when I turn the speed off. Weird stuff. So basically what's happening is that when the phaser is set to harmonic, as I said before, the shape of the phaser is determined by the behavior of the unison. So that's particularly interesting, and it's like it's very weird. It's very weird, and I've made some interesting sounds with it before in some menu tracks, and it's like among the more advanced things you could do with it. Yeah. Now I'm also in the local EQ. I'm using this to disable the lowest harmonic, and then I made a sub. I layered together to make the actual full sound. And this is because when you have all the full frequencies, the loudest one tends to be the most audible one when you distort something. This is basically a very harsh and fast form of compression. And so I removed the loudest element, which is the lowest harmonic, and then that let the other frequencies kind of play around more with the distortion. So that made it a bit more interesting. So that's what's up with that. So the main sort of behavior that's being caused here is almost entirely from the phaser. So this is basically applying two different techniques that I have talked about in the past in the How to Bass series, and the most prominent one is the unison pitch thickness. I don't remember what I call it. I call it something weird, but it's the one I'm talking about where it could the unison is controlling the activity of the phaser, like this here, and that's the result of setting the phaser to be harmonic values and then taking the width all the way down to 0. And the other thing that happens is that I'm using the width all the way down to 0 to basically be just volume automation. That's what that's like. And it's not a very complicated sound overall. It's just that the bits, like the why this sound sounds the way it does is very advanced. It's like sort of one of the more out there aspects of how Harmor works. So that's why I thought this bass would be particularly interesting to have a how to bass about. Of course, I also made this bass as a very fast example for something in the last FL Basics tutorial. So that's why it's not very complicated, because it's not mixed with anything. It's not overly intense, but it is neat. And you can also say that it's phase warp 20. And this is actually, this kind of sound is what I refer to as a phase warp, because it's a wobble. It's like whoop, 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 whoop. And it's happening as a result of the phasers. I call it the phase warp. And I have a lot of these. This is one of my favorite ones. And this actually has some of the same application of the crazy harmonic phaserness, is that with the automation of... Where's the articulator? With the automation of the Unison. But in addition to automating the Unison, I'm also automating the prism. Setting the phaser to harmonic doesn't actually have anything to do with the prism, like in the way that the Unison does. That's just what that's like. That just sounds like, because that's what happens when you automate the prism. Anyway, the other preset, the one I was talking about today, will be in the download link in the description. If you have any questions about this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day. And also, come check out my plug room. Yay, Plug DJ. Come check it out. It's cool. It's called Seamless EDM, and there's also a link for that in the description. I'm a sneezy bastard. So yes, have a nice day, and I hope you have learned something.